if we're socially distanced, I'm gonna.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Greater Guthrie Chamber of Commerce City Council Forum here in beautiful City Hall in downtown Guthrie. I'd like to say hello to our viewing audience as well as our candidates here. 5 candidates running for the Ward 3 position, and we'll introduce them here in just a little bit. First, I'd like to give a big thank you to Guthrie City Hall for allowing us the space here tonight and to allow us to hear from each candidate. Also, a big thank you to Aaron Ryburn, who puts all the great graphics on here, all the opening and all that good stuff. It is 100% Aaron Ryburn. He does a great job, not only for us tonight, but his duties with GTV 20. So a big thank you to Aaron. Our good friend Brittany, the CEO president of the Guthrie Chamber, had a late thing come up and unable to join us tonight. So we found the next best thing, and that's our chairwoman of the Chamber Board of Directors, Jamie Newton.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Miss Brittany does send her apologies for not being able to make it. She really wanted to be here but was unable to. The Greater Guthrie Chamber of Commerce mission is to promote, support, and enhance the business community of Guthrie and the outlying communities around us. We thank you all for being here, and we hope that we can glean some wonderful information about each one of our candidates. Learn more about the Chamber of Commerce at our website. Stay up to date on local events at GuthrieChamber.com. And please also check out our new app available in your app store. It's a wonderful resource to find out everything that's going on in the community and to keep up to date on chamber coffees and after-hours events, as well as other things that are going on within the business community.
Thank you, Jamie. Just real quickly, the Chamber sponsors candidate forums because we believe people have a right to know what their candidates for public office have to say about issues that affect our community. We provide this forum as a public service, and we are privileged and proud to play a role in the democratic process. Our candidate forums allow those seeking public office to express their views openly so community members can understand their positions and make informed voting choices. Kind of lay out our program tonight. Each candidate will introduce themselves briefly. We will then allow them a 2-minute opening statement. After that, we'll ask each candidate questions in which they will have 60 seconds to respond. At times, we may not ask follow-up questions to each candidate, and in fairness, we will alter each question. So Ms. Cheryl doesn't get to go first every single time. You're going to have to share. You're going to have to share tonight. We have our fancy timer here, and so the middle button, which I believe is orange, will turn 15 seconds. So when it turns orange, you have 15 seconds to wrap up your thoughts, and then there should be a beep. Hopefully, there's a beep. If not, it turns red, and then we'll stop you from there. Okay. With that, we will we didn't know where anybody was going to set out tonight, and so we were going to start from the left, and then we'll alter from there. So, Cheryl Padgett, if you would please introduce yourself, a little bit about yourself, and how long you lived in Guthrie.
Cheryl Padgett. I've lived here most of my life, a long time. I'm a member of the First Christian Church, and I have 2 children, 5 grandchildren, and 1 great-granddaughter. So I've owned businesses in the past, and I guess I didn't know I had a love for municipal service, but I found out that I do. And from that feeling, I have garnered the will to see what I could do to make things better, to help people out if that was necessary. I've spent 14 years on the board of Neighborhood Solutions, and they also have a giving character. I found myself on several committees before I decided to run for city council. I've enjoyed every minute of it, and my faith in the city of Guthrie and the people that we have at the helm is very steadfast, and I would like to see the city of Guthrie continue the improvements that we've been making.
Thank you, Cheryl. Our next candidate, Danny Smith.
Yep, my name is Danny. I've actually lived in the Guthrie area about 15 years, but just recently almost 7 years, I've moved to Guthrie to the west side. I'm married. My wife and I lived in Edmond for about 30 years, raised our kids. I was actually an Edmond high school graduate, and one of the first things I did when I got here was to try to get to know everybody, as far as from the city leaders to everybody, to my council people and the mayor, to get involved. One of the first things I did, went over and met the guys at the Public Works Department. I spent some time at OSU Tech when I was younger, took environmental engineering. That was something I always wanted to do, is be in the city works department somewhere at a water plant. But anyway, I have 3 grandchildren. I have 2 kids. They all live in Oklahoma City. My goal is to get some of them to move here with me. And that's one thing I want to do, is to make progress in this town. That I feel we already have made progress, and I'd like to make some more, especially for the west side. My job here is to represent all of us on the west side and make sure we know that we have a quite diverse amount of people there and type of people, and we've got 2 or 3 of the biggest employers on the west side of town. So the main thing is, like Cheryl, I kind of enjoy being involved in the municipal workings of a city, and I enjoy the people who work here, and I think everybody's done a great job. But I just want to be involved a little more and make sure, kind of give a voice to the west side is my main thing. I've always thought that the City of Guthrie should feel like a small town but act like a small city. We need to make it a livable city. We need to have walkways. We need to have parks. I spent 4 years on the park board. I just termed out and did a tiny part of helping to get the Banner Park redone and getting improvements to mineral wells, and I'd like to see more improvements to parks and trails connecting those things. So my thing is really just to make the city more livable and make sure that the west side is an integral part of that, and the rest of the city recognize what's going on the west side, and the improvements that are happening just in house repairs, and we've added almost 150 new homes in the past 5 years, and I think we need to be recognized a little more for that. That's the main thing. I just want to be involved in what's going on and be a voice for the west side, and I really enjoy it over there.
Awesome. Thank you, Danny. Our next candidate, Tracy Williams.
Tracy Williams. I've lived in Guthrie my entire life. A resident of the west side, exception of 4 years as an adolescent entirely spent on the west side of town, and I agree with Danny. I want to be a voice for the west side of Guthrie. My decision to run for city council is because now I'm afforded the time to do that, where in the past, even though I admired the leaders of this city, primarily the business leaders, I've never had really the time to do that. Now that I do, I'm going to take advantage of that and try to give back to my community and my city by being a part of the decision-making process, which at this time is pretty exciting when you look around and see the growth taking place, which is going to require a much more stringent decision-making on the part of the city council, and I hope to be a part of that and to just bring wise counsel.
Thank you, Tracy. Now, definitely our tallest candidate here tonight, Franklin Danley.
Absolutely. Good evening. Well, I'll tell you guys, it's an honor to be up here with all you guys, hearing those stories. That's beautiful. I am Franklin Danley. I'm originally from Inglewood, California. I've resided in Oklahoma since 2005, and I have been a Guthrie native since 2007. I think Guthrie is the way it is because of how it is. The same reason people live here are the same reasons that tourists want to come here. It is a beautiful place to get coffee at Rick's, Hoboken, walking to Missy's on a Saturday, and a Supreme Court judge knows your name. That small hometown feeling is beautiful, and I think we as a city capitalize on that, but I think it's time to scale up a little bit. So I am here to assist in that. Since the future is now, fresh ideas, new undertakings, I'm here for it. Franklin Danley, thank you guys.
Thank you, Franklin. And we did the fifth candidate, Jesse Morris, unable to make it tonight. He was offered to be here and not here tonight. So.
We had some time for opening statements. We were going to give you each about 2 more minutes to to speak a little bit more about anything you'd like to tell us in your opening statement. We do have questions regarding why and how and all of those things. So in your opening statement, just whatever you'd like to tell us, and you have 2 minutes. Ms. Paget, please.
Well, I sort of worked that in at the beginning, but there have been a lot of changes made just since the time that I have actually been active on the council. And to name just a few, our visiting with ODOT finally secured a more usable bridge and highway from one side of town to the other with walkways, which makes it much more palatable for older people, let's say, that could walk, but they couldn't walk with what we had before. We also don't have to worry about our cars falling through the holes in the bridge. I say that's progress. We were really happy with that. In fact, that they carried the bill made us even happier. We have started doing some work on our streets, more than we did in the past. I'm sure that you all have noticed the mess on South Division because we're getting a sidewalk that goes from downtown all the way out to at least Walmart, which will also be helpful to people that ride the scooters and things like that that don't have transportation of their own other than that, which I think that anything that we can do for people that are disabled is a very good thing. We're moving forward in trying to make things more acceptable for people with young children. We have the mineral wells splash pad, which is neat, 15 seconds.
Yep.
And we've got the one at Banner, which I was jumping up and down about. I was so happy that they installed something for us on the west side. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Paget.
Yes.
And Mr. Smith, your 2 minutes starts now.
I may need my glasses for some of this. Really the best way to go any further is to kind of tell you guys a story. I mean, our biggest problem with really any city, any situation, any place that is trying to make progress is funding. I mean, it's all about money, and we've spent a few years, and we can argue how long that is, in DC and in state, not spending money and cutting everything. And I think the city can self-fund a lot of these projects. I think the city can retain control and do what they want and not worry so much about grants, although those are great, and make things happen on our own and invest direct dollars into it. I'm afraid that a lot of people may not see what I see here. It feels like already that my opponents here do feel that, but simply, I'll tell you a real quick story. When I decided to retire back in, I think it was 2012, my wife and I thought, we're getting out of Edmond. Edmond turned into, I won't go into that, it's exactly opposite of what I want Guthrie to be. And we thought, well, we'll move to some neat neighborhoods in Oklahoma City. Well, but let's look at Guthrie, because we've been coming to Guthrie for a long time. And like I said, I lived here back when I was in junior high and high school. And we looked around and looked up here, and then one day the Gentlemen of the Road Festival came. And I came here, and I had spent I'm a big music fan. I've spent a lot of my life going to concerts, been to quite a few festivals, and I came here and I saw something that I don't know to this day that people still realize what we had there, that we could have that every year. If we had that every year, the money would be available to us to do what we want. And the potential, like we all know about, Noble Park, which is across the street, we still have access to that. We have major assets that we can take advantage of here by just basically creating revenue. But that changed my mind, and I moved to Guthrie because of the Mumford & Sons deal. I stood there at that festival. I was able to volunteer. I wasn't able to get tickets. I was able to get volunteer, and I stood there and thought, this is what Guthrie could be. This could be a world class. I saw what the Mumford & Son guys saw on their own. And that's what I want to make sure everybody recognizes and takes advantage of.
Thank you.
It was a hot weekend. It was.
It was.
Put beeping on us.
It's good.
You ready? Okay. Mr. Williams, 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Thank you. My wife Dee and I have raised 3 children in Guthrie. We have 4 grandchildren here, 3 in school and 1 coming on next year in kindergarten. And I want to make this city a better city for, of course, my lineage. I suppose they'll stay here because my daughter and my son-in-law are both business owners here. I've been in the past. As far as the city progressing and the financing available for the projects we all want to see as citizens, I can't really know what that possibility is till I sit here and see what those budgets are. But I'm for growth, I'm for business growth, doing everything possible to make those avenues as simple and easy as possible. And to see this city grow, it's growing exponentially as we speak. It's really exciting because I was here when the middle storefronts came off and the Historical Society was involved and private investment came in to remodel buildings, and that was an exciting time. I've seen Guthrie change over my life a lot, but not nearly as much as I see it now, and I'm pleased with what the city is doing. I'm pleased with how we're moving forward, and we see private investment coming in, and I just want to be a part of that, and hopefully I'll be elected to do so.
All right, thank you, Mr. Williams. And Mr. Danley, 2 minutes for your opening statement.
All right, so I feel similar to the other candidates here. I think we all want to see Guthrie grow. Industry is imperative. More people need to be at work so they can purchase more homes and do more things. I know Danny was talking about he did some work on parks. I take my daughter, I have 2 of them, to the splash pad, and it's great family fun. We collectively need to get on board with more ways to fund festivals, definitely, different genres and diverse acts coming. This will give us some funding like we've mentioned, but it will also enable us to share our culture with the world, more so. Walking down in the historic district, seeing the old brick buildings, knowing how movies are shot here in great numbers, these are all things that can assist us. So in this age, social media, we just need to ramp it up. And I, as an agent of progress, can definitely help with these things.
All right, thank you, Mr. Danley.
Thank you. Of course, we see on the political side of things, at the national level, the federal level, state level, local level, which is the closest to the people, which I think is one of the best places to be because you're closer to that. With so much stuff going on in our world today, why are you going to be a councilman or councilwoman at this time, and what are your qualifications? And we'll start with Danny for this question.
Well, that's a really good question. I've asked myself a couple times. Well, because I think we need accountability in government in general. And like you just mentioned, it starts in your local government. And I think we need to spread that accountability out from everybody from the city works guys to the city council and the mayor. I feel like this should be a fairly easy job because I see the potential. In other words, we can all look at cities the size of Guthrie, around Kansas, Texas, and Oklahoma and smaller that are just, for lack of a better word, they're dying off. And I don't think that's happening with us. I think we have a potential. I think what we need is progressive-minded attitudes, and I just feel like I can bring that to that. And it shouldn't be that hard because I really feel like Cheryl said, that we've got a good city management and we've got a great mayor, and we just need to empower those guys.
Thank you, Danny. And these are 60 seconds. I forgot to mention that. These are now 60 seconds. Tracy.
Well, to reiterate, I just want to be an agent of change for my community. Qualifications I bring, I believe, as a result of my time spent with Kerr-McGee Corporation and another worldwide company in the environmental divisions of both, I learned to communicate with people of all degrees and backgrounds. I learned to, in those situations, to budget and create bid processes for the company I worked for, specifically at Tinker Air Force Base as a contractor there, and then later overseeing environmental dig and haul situation in Shawnee for a company in Oklahoma City, where I've got baptized into the operations of the municipalities, where I answer to those officials daily at the progress and planning of executing of that project.
Thank you, Tracy. Franklin?
I am running for city councilman to affect progress. I have a background in working with those with intellectual disabilities, real estate, and the cannabis space. So I've had successful businesses, and I've also had to learn to be compassionate for those maybe who aren't in a position to voice. So what I would do here is work with the great base that we have and improve upon that by just maybe ways that we haven't explored yet. Some new blood, a little new energy, shake it up a little bit.
Thank you, Franklin.
You're very welcome.
Cheryl?
I should have mentioned this right at the beginning, but I wasn't sure exactly what it was expected. However, economic development is the number one goal I think we should be looking at to bring in people that will offer jobs to the people that we have here. The ones with young children, we're working on trying to get some more athletic things taken care of. And the fact that he mentioned Mumford & Son, that was absolutely one of the most awesome things I've ever seen happen in Guthrie. And I too would like to see many, many more of those, because there were so many people that came here. I get so excited when I think that we could do that over and over and over again. And to see that and more economic development would be what I'm working for at this time, and we have some things that we're working on. I think everybody's going to be very pleased.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Our second question this evening is, regarding the CIP sales tax, what are your thoughts on how it has been handled up to this point, and what would you like to do with it in the future? And we'll ask that first of Mr. Williams.
Well, what I've seen is progress on the west side, water lines being placed. I know that we're moving forward with a new wastewater facility, which is absolutely necessary. I know by watching the last committee meeting that a fire department gained a truck, which they desperately needed. So in my view, I think it's moving along well. As far as from here forward what to do with that, I don't believe I can answer that question until I sit in this seat. But I'm happy with the progress so far, and I'm glad that that was implemented in 2016, is that correct? So there's a 15-year window there, and I think a lot of great things can be done with it. We see in maps what resulted in Oklahoma City. So.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Williams. And Mr. Danley?
Capital improvements are necessary. Better water systems, just a proper foundation is a great thing. If those taxes have indeed been beneficial, then I would continue with them. See if we can squeeze where we can, and if not, relieve the people. However, infrastructure is imperative. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Danley.
You're very welcome.
And Ms. Paget?
It's terrible to thank COVID-19, but people have been stuck in their homes during this time, and they have been able to order from the local stores, curbside, everything like that does good for the sales tax. I believe that the CIP money, I think we've handled it correctly. There have been so many things that have come up, and I know that Danny is not in favor of grants very much, but they've saved our bacon more than one time. If you'll go back and look at some of the activities that we've had and the ability to gain money to make things better, a lot of it has been some grants, and I am proud that we were able to obtain those.
Thank
Danny,
you, Ms. Paget.
Danny, would you like to follow up with that or go on to the next question?
No, I think I kind of agree with Cheryl in a way that the CIP thing was a great example of local locals controlling our own tax. We voted to raise our tax. We had a list, I remember the list going around, we all checked off, and as far as I know, the only thing that hasn't been done is the sports complex. And that's on my list. If I sit here, that's one thing I'm going to do. I'm going to be a big advocate of that, and I would like to see it at Owens Field. I think we've already got a place on the west side of town. And like Cheryl said, I think we did have a few hiccups in there. We had obviously some city management problems, some other issues. We had a bridge go bad, we had a flood. But I think generally, I think people are very happy with it. I know I've seen improvements on this side. I think it's just a matter of finishing it.
Okay, thank you. Our next question will begin with Franklin. Tourism is a vital part of Guthrie with all the movies and all the fun stuff that comes to our town. How do you look to expand on that? And also your thoughts on what we could do to bring more tourism to Guthrie?
Just more, like you said. So festivals are essential, but how many do we really have? And amidst COVID, it'll be a perfect time in spring or summer to have outdoor events here. So you could capitalize on that. And for the future, just get a better pulse on the diverse groups we have here to see what acts they would like to bring, what's popular in other places, and what can we stand to do here, capacity-wise, numbers, safety, of course. And from there, let's book a lot of acts. Yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Cheryl?
Speaking of tourism, I really feel like that we have a lot to offer to people historically with all of our buildings and the different things that we've participated in here. I have traveled a great deal. I've been very fortunate to be able to do that. And no matter where I go, I look back at home and we're going in the right direction. We've got the bed and breakfast, we've got the brick buildings, we've got some brick streets. We could have a more things like the Mumford & Son for the tourism part of it. I'm truly an advocate of tourism, and we've got a gold mine here. We just need to develop a little more activity within the people that own some of these buildings and make the history of them accessible.
Thank you. Dan?
Yeah, I think in general, the city from a distance is a beautiful city and has all kinds of history of museums. We have art. I think up close, it needs a lot of work. I think you go downtown and you see a lot of rotting and parts and you see empty buildings. And I think we have, like I said, we have tools that we can empower us to fund those things. But I believe we should empower the tourism department to do a bigger job and make them more accountable for what they do and start documenting this information so we can put it on paper. Because I think we've got a huge potential here. But we got to kind of get the details worked out first. I mean, we've got to kind of polish up our streets and clean up our streets. Because I think once people come here, they're not just going to come here as that's a nice building, but I want them to come here and say, I'd like to move here. I'd like to live here. That's our ultimate goal, I think.
Thank you. Tracy?
Well, to answer this question, I went to see Justin Fortney today, and he's excited. What I took away from that meeting was, I've lived here all my life, and I take for granted many of these things as not being, really excitable, but you talk to him and his plans and the directions and the paths he's on right now to bring more tourism here, then my answer to that question is support him. That's his job. As a city councilman, let's make his job as easy as possible, support him in that, and let him bring forth the ideas to us and carry forth with it or not, depending on, again, what budgets constraints there are with that. And I just say support the people that are already in place.
It's a busy office for two people.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Franklin?
We started with him.
Oh, we started with, well, okay.
You want to read the next one?
We'll go to Jamie.
Our next question is, have you been happy with the direction the City of Guthrie is going? Please give us examples of things you have been happy with and things you would like to see improved or changed. And we'll start with Ms. Paget.
Yes, I am. I am happy because when I first started with the council several years ago, I didn't feel like we were making the progress that I wanted to make. And I wanted to see people happier with their city and things for children to do. And I'm very much an advocate of the sports complex. However, that is a very, very expensive item that we're going to do it. We've promised we'll do it, and we will. It's just going to take a little bit of time. But overall, I am very happy with the progress we've made. It's gone a long ways in a relatively short time. So, and I was really proud to be a part of some of that.
Thank you, Ms. Paget. Mr. Smith?
Well, I mean, the progress is a result of our city's employees and the council and the mayor and even the much-hated historical board. I mean, every one of these people, if you talk to them, they're just passionate about it. And I just don't see cities like that. And it just seems like if it comes down to as long as we have people like that, we're going to make progress. Yes, we run into budget issues and we run into, like I said before, floods but I think we can get back that because I see that passion in every one of these people's eyes. And so I think we can make progress as long as we just start looking at the really big picture now. Like Cheryl said, now we're going to put ourselves, like all you guys have said, that we're going to put ourselves into a situation where we can really make some big improvements.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smith. And Mr. Williams?
Yes, I'll reiterate that I am happy with the direction the city is going. Much of that to do with private investment, like Mr. Fairchild coming to town and changing the whole entrance of the city. Things I would like to see improved initially, right now, I can point to Cottonwood Flats. That is an exceptional opportunity, venue of things that can come to the city, as spoken by Mr. Fortney today, but there's some improvements need to be done down there. Beautification, parking I'd like to see, because when it rains, it's a problem, but those are all issues I'm sure that the city has addressed. And the sports complex I've heard about for years now, I'd love to see that. But back again, it goes to, until you're in this seat, you can't really say this or that, but I'm for it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Williams. And Mr. Danley?
I am happy with the direction that Guthrie is going. However, I'd like to see more things like Red Brick Nights, where we get together with food trucks and local bands, the activities with the children, with the slides. All of these are great things. I heard Mr. Williams mention Cottonwood Flats. I attended a few meetings, and we're supposed to get on top of that. That has not happened yet, but I'd like to be a part of that because, man, that's a wonderful, wonderful place. I've done some history on it, and it would be exquisite to bring that back to fruition the way it was. The sports complex, I've been hearing about that for years as well. Maybe, let's keep working towards it. I think with some collective thinking and good brain power together and hard work, we can make it happen.
All right, thank you very much.
I echo those sentiments. I think hopefully we're close to some good news of the sports complex. So hopefully everything keeps going the right way. Well, it hasn't even feel like it's been a year yet. About a year ago, it started bubbling with the COVID-19. And it was about March 12 or 13 when we really found out what that was. The night the Thunder had to go off the court and basketball tournaments were canceled, all that good stuff. Our city council has had to take a couple of votes on masks and some mandates, and there was some court hearings and all that stuff. So it's been a heated topic. Not only it's not a Guthrie thing; it's everywhere you go. But your thoughts on the mask mandates, or not enough maybe on the mandates. But we'll begin that with Danny.
Well, you can see I'm wearing my mask. I believe in facts, okay, and it's indisputable facts that everybody should be wearing a mask. We're not going to get out of this until everybody cooperates. I mean, I have friends and family. I have friends who went to Vietnam. I have family who went to fought in world wars, and all we're asking is people to wear a mask so we can at least act like we're trying to cooperate. And it's just ridiculous that we don't have a mask mandate. I think it should be a statewide mask mandate. And until the numbers show me different, then we should be doing it. And I will continue to do it as long as this virus is around, because I have elderly parents I'm trying to keep alive.
Thank you. Tracy?
I don't particularly like it, and the reason why I'm not wearing my mask at this moment is because we are practicing social distancing. I know there's enough science to prove now that how the virus is spread, and I certainly agree to any business owner to refuse right to service, and I practice that accordingly. But overall, I didn't like it at first at all, but I have come to cooperate with it because it is a business owner's right to refuse service. So I cooperate with it reluctantly.
Yeah. Thank you. Franklin?
Far more qualified people have deemed it necessary for people to wear masks, so I go with science and my feeling with God. So I put it on as much as possible. As a business owner, I wear it, and so do my employees. If it's safe, let's go for it. But do I enjoy it? Heck no.
Thank you. Cheryl?
Well, I kind of agree with everybody up there. I don't like wearing the mask. However, I've been told by a doctor that the mask is not for my protection if I'm wearing it, as much as it would be for the people I come in contact with. So if that's the case and someone is not as careful with their health, I agree that we should be wearing masks when we're in public. We've tried to do 2 or 3 things here and we're discouraged by many people. However, I'd like to see adults be able to police themselves and wear it when they should and not the rest of the time. But if they won't wear it, I believe we'll be forced into mandates. Unfortunately, not my choice.
Well, hopefully it all goes away soon.
Agreed.
All right. Our next question is, we are coming out of a record-breaking year for Guthrie's sales tax revenue. How do we continue to see that increase, and how would you hope to make this year better than last year? And we'll start with Mr. Williams.
Well, I was surprised to see that, especially in the COVID situation. But it's my understanding that the tax increase came from the online sales taxes, which are fairly new. So to increase it, what do you want to tell people to buy more online? Or the point being is, I don't think we can count on that or predict that because that's regulated by how much people buy online. I would prefer to see people buy locally and increase that, of course. I would prefer to see businesses evolve and see those tax increases through the growth of the city. But I don't think we should really count our blessings at this moment because it's unpredictable.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Danley?
As Mr. Williams says, it is unpredictable, but I'll take that money as well. I enjoy the taxes, and I enjoy us being able to utilize those taxes to do the appropriate things. It would be a great thing to get them locally in the businesses. However, COVID is amidst us. The world has shifted a bit, so we have to lean into that. And a part of that is it's going to be more sales online, more deliveries from Amazon and things. This is just the way of the world right now. Yep.
Thank you. And Ms. Paget?
Okay. I think everybody is correct in what they've said. I think that it's more than that, though, because I kind of alluded to it earlier. A lot of people have gone to added services from businesses. They either bring it to you, you park and they bring it to you. It's curbside. You can order whatever you want from their store. They will bring it to you at the curbside. A lot of the restaurants are doing that as well. So I see 2 things. The online sales, and those have increased overall. So finally, we were recognized to receive that sales tax, thank goodness. And then the added services that our businesses have given us, I think that that's something that they should look into and continue for older people who aren't able to get out. They will sell more here in Guthrie. That's it.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Smith?
Well, I mean, it's probably true, the the past sales tax report is probably skewed somewhat, like everything is over this coronavirus period. I mean, it's hard to say, but the fact that we did not lose sales tax revenue just goes to show that we're on a trend, on a tangent that's going to only go up, and there's really no reason why we can't at least match that next year. Once again, we have the tools, and we are making progress, so to really analyze this last year is something for the future that maybe we can analyze compared to the next couple of coming years, because we're looking for is consistency once we get out of this COVID mess.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Okay. You guys have brought up a few things I think there's a lot of great things happening in the city of Guthrie throughout our community, whether it's out by the lake or on the west side, your primary ward here that you guys are going for. But in regards to developing the city over the next 10 years, what do you consider perhaps the most important, or maybe there's a couple of things that you would like to see in the next 10 years? And with that, we'll start with Mr. Franklin.
I'd like to see more homes built here and industry brought here. So we can take a look at maybe popular culture for the next 50 years, analyze what those are going to be, and see if we can make Guthrie a hub for that. We are in the middle of the map. Transport and export could be a real good thing. So we need to capitalize on those things, I think.
Okay, thank you. Cheryl?
Oh, yes. Over the next 10 years, I do honestly see Guthrie growing a little bit, maybe not as much as we would like, but I think it'll continue to grow. And we do have a lot of housing that's been added. We have some builders that are doing the infill housing. We have people buying lots and wanting houses built in the city proper. And the west side has gotten a lot more attention than it did there for a while, thank goodness.
Absolutely.
I see Guthrie growing, and I see our financial situation, which has been rather dire at times, improving. I know that if we have businesses that people want to buy from, we will buy from them, and that they will increase, and we will increase our tax basis. So I'm excited. I think the next 10 years are going to be something to watch.
Thank you. Danny?
Well, again, over the next 10 years, when Edmund's motto, let's go back to Edmund. Edmund has a motto is made by Mr. Kickingbird, one of the original founders of Edmund. It's called, I think it says this, the city will be what its citizens will it to be. And that's what we have now. Edmund, back in the 80s and 90s, the citizens lost control of Edmund. It became taken over by bankers and developers, and they just developed every square lot they possibly could. We have the opportunity to actually will our city to be what we want it to be. I think eventually that has got to be reflected in the downtown area, though. Even though we're trying to represent the west side and Ward 3, we've got to make this downtown, that's got to be the result, is a shiny downtown, for lack of a better word.
I didn't know there was a Mr. Kickingbird. I learned something.
Yes, there is.
There you go. It's all over Edmond, so I did not know that. Okay. Tracy?
Next 10 years, well, there has been a lot of home building in Guthrie, and there's more to come with the approval of 314 lots at Mission Hills 2. A lot of families, a lot of children represented there, infrastructure to go, will always be an ongoing need I see for the next 10 years. Industry is what I like to see come to Guthrie. It's been a bedroom community most of my life, and the bedrooms are multiplying as we speak. I'd like to see the industrial park begin to grow. We have it, let's build on it, let's approach businesses, let's go out and find those businesses to provide tax revenue and jobs for those homes to keep people local. That's what I'd like to see.
Thank you.
Are there any city services that you feel are lacking or need improvement? If not, how will you look to continue to bring more services to the citizens? We'll start with Ms. Paget.
Okay. I do want to, first of all, I want to say that our maintenance department, headed by Tenny Maker, has really done an excellent job. They've improved or increased their work on the streets. They've done most of the work on, after we had the ice storm. We've really kind of been hit with several things this year that have been detrimental to our city and other cities as well. But I think that we will continue to improve our services. And I know that people ask all the time, again, we're going back to money. You have to be able to pay that person a good salary and have good equipment, and all of those are expensive. But I do see an improvement, especially with some things we have in the works.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Well, I think it's right. It just takes, I mean, I don't know that, I think all the city employees, I think are doing a great job. I think the only way we could increase service quality is to hire more people. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, on the west side, it looks like a war zone over there. There's just trees down everywhere. We still have some major road issues. We have, we have issues that need to be fixed, and it's not because nobody's sitting around. It's because we need to hire more people. And to do that, we're going to have to figure out a way to raise some revenue, and we have those tools to raise that revenue. And we've recently done, including Ms. Paget, who was involved in all the new coding and the new rules and regulations. We can't enforce codes, we can't enforce rules until we can legally do that. And now that seems like that's going to happen, we're going to see some action hopefully taken by the city, and people will be able to see those improvements with their eyes.
Thank you. Mr. Williams?
Well, I agree with Cheryl that Tenny Maker's doing a great job with this cleanup after that unsuspected storm. It's a huge undertaking, and I'm happy with what they're doing, and I see it ongoing every day, and it's going to be for a while. But when this CIP sales tax was voted for the city, the voters primarily spoke about street improvement. It's been going on, but I think there's more emphasis need to be put to that. And that will come with time, but the voters spoke clearly what they wanted, and I think that's been kind of a slow process.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Danley?
Yes, so, our city does a great job. I can't get up here and badmouth people. What they need are more resources and more people, more bodies to do things. And that will come with funding and appropriations of the right people. One issue that I have are the streets. And it's not just my issue, it's everyone's issue. So if we can look at that and be more diligent with getting these people exactly what they need to do that, that's a great step in the right direction.
Okay, thank you.
And I would like to follow up, and you guys can take 20, 30 seconds if you need to answer this. And I would love for Southwest 19th Street to be a 4-lane road. I would love for Center Road to be a 4-lane road perfectly. As you guys said, it does take funding to do that.
Absolutely.
Where does that funding come from? How do you bring it in? Where do you get the funding to do these projects that we're talking about? If anybody wants to jump in.
Well, the grants that Cheryl was talking about, I think, are vitally important to that. Increasing city sales tax, obviously. It's a combination of things that everybody has to be on the same page with. And it's not an easy task. I in no way think this is an easy job or going to be an easy job. Some people are going to be happy and some aren't. You can't please everybody all the time. But as long as the citizens know that the focus and intent of their government is to meet these needs and doing all that's possible to do so. As I said, that CIP, 80% of the people said they wanted street improvements. So we need to find a way to do that because that's what the voters wanted. How that's going to happen, I won't know until I sit in this seat.
Tracy,
Sure.
I agree, and that's one thing that really needs to be done. And when you sit up here and look at the money situation and how much we have to spend, and we look and he actually figures out which block or 2 blocks of road that he can do this month or this quarter or whatever. And then the expense, my goodness, even though we're doing it in-house for the storm, it has cost a fortune. to be able to clear that off and get it disposed of in the proper way. I had no clue when I came on just how intense the money situation could be and what it would take, and the fact that, you're right, Tenny is doing a great job. But they're doing so much in-house and saving us so much money. I know we're going to get to everything that the people wanted in their questionnaire, and that's a very serious issue on the streets, but it just takes time and money, and unfortunately, that's not forthwith like we would like.
Right, sure.
Thank you.
Real quick, I'll
Yes,
say
yes,
something.
absolutely.
Is that, you know, I think, once again, we can be like a kingfisher that just can only do so much. They're never going to be more than kingfisher, and we can maintain, and we can just keep everybody shopping local, and we can keep our tax dollars here, and we could probably just maintain, or we can jump to a world-class tourist city. And we can't do that by raising our taxes. That ain't going to happen. We can't. I mean, we have to generate revenue from other people's money, tourists. Those are the ones that bring in money, and they freely spend money, and that money is just pure, to me, it's almost like profit. It is pure profit, and that is much bigger money than we're going to be able to create by raising our taxes or cutting a budget somewhere. We've actually got to raise the big money to make the big changes that will bring in the festivals a year and bring movies in all the time, make it where people want to move here. So I think that's the difference here. We've got to, do we want to be a world-class city with a train and people driving here just to come here? That's the question.
May I say one more thing?
Yeah, just real quick, 20 seconds?
Quick, okay.
Yeah.
I think that our city manager, right now, working with the mayor, I think that he has done an excellent job in plugging numbers and spreadsheets and looking to see where we can pull this and that and how we can take care of it without just making too many of our money piles disappear. It honestly takes somebody that's got a very good financial head to be able to work on this city, and I must say he has done a good job in pulling that together and keeping us all pushing forward. I just don't know exactly what it's going to take, but I know we've got the ability if we just use it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, our city manager, he's one of the longest tenure, is the longest tenure since 1990. So that says a lot to him. And
Yeah.
I can't just say enough for our city staff. They're, they're underfunded. Their equipment's not there. You guys have mentioned that.
Yeah.
Just a big thank you to our city employees. Next question goes for Danny. Of the recent decisions made by the city council, is there any particular decision that that you disagreed with or you strongly agreed with, and why?
Well, without knowing all the details, I can't say there's really anything. Yes, I totally disagree with him. I think we could have stood up and said, we're going to be a modern, fact-believing city, and we're going to put a mask mandate in and just let them sue us. But that's probably a lot simpler than it sounds. But I understand everybody's vote. I understand everybody's opinion. But I'm really not here to criticize. I think we've done what we can do with the situation we've been dealt. And I think that we've done a pretty good job. I really can't think of any particular thing that I was unhappy with. I've been unhappy with some of the actions of the particular council members, I admit. But at the end of the day, I think generally it all washes out. The decisions been made have been pretty progressive, I think, and I want to keep it that way.
Thank you, Danny. Tracy, anything you strongly disagreed with?
No, in watching the council meetings of late, I agree with the direction they're going. I'm not here to grind an axe with anybody or any particular situation. Again, I know this isn't an easy job, big decisions to make that not everybody's going to be satisfied with, but you have to do what's best for the whole, not just my ward, but all the wards. And I'm completely happy with my councilman, particularly Don, who I didn't really know until I've known because he's lived here all his life, but I didn't really know Don that well until I had some issues that I called him on, which was a dilapidated house across the street from mine, which was pulling down the value of the entire neighborhood. The city voted on it. They took it down. It's gone. I'm happy. great. Hospital, I look at it every day. Thank you, God. That
Yeah.
old building
That's the
is,
truth.
you know, is wonderful. So
Thank you.
I'm encouraged.
A lot of good things happening over there. Thank you. Franklin?
I don't have any quibbles with people. Like I said, I'm here to assist, not so much ridicule. I've read some of the ordinance and simple and difficult things that have been changed here, so I don't have any disagreements right now.
Awesome. Thank you. Ms. Cheryl, you had a front row seat to all of it. Anything that you disagreed with that you did?
No, but I do agree that we need to get rid of some more houses. That costs money, so we allocate so many a month that we can get rid of, and we're working on that. I think, knowing what I know and some of the others don't know, I have to say that, in my opinion, the city manager, the mayor, and the council are doing an absolutely excellent job. It is a hard job, and it is a job that most people are unaware exactly what's involved. But I'm proud of us. I think they've made good decisions, and I think that'll continue.
Thank you.
Final question.
Our final question of the evening, and we will start this with Mr. Williams. Do you have an opinion regarding the current city rates that citizens pay for utilities, such as water, trash, and sewer?
Well, to be honest with you, my wife pays those bills and I don't even see them. No, I don't have a problem with it. I'm glad to see my trash picked up on Tuesdays just like they're supposed to be. I'm thankful for the bulk day. If more people would utilize that, we'd have less problems. So no, I don't have any complaints about the services at all.
And Mr. Danley?
My local utilities, I have no issues with them.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Paget?
No, I would like to have recycling at the house, but that's not the city's decision not to have it. It is the fact that it would have to be added to the bill, the water bill, and there are a lot of people that are unhappy with the water prices and things anyway, so we haven't chosen to do that, but that would be nice. I think everything else is just great.
Okay. And Mr. Smith?
I think it's documented. Our water rates, our rates are not any higher than anybody else around us. And I think if you look at Edmond, they're going to go up even more than ours over the next few years. I think, we've got to pay to keep this city running, especially in the recent history with our state and our federal government's just not, spending money. Money is hard to come by. And the money that you earn yourself, it makes us a lot more flexible. We can do what we want, and we can keep those utilities low, because we're going to have to spend a bunch of money on a sewer treatment plant, and hopefully that won't cost our pocketbooks too much as far as our monthly payments, but I believe we're working on that. So I'm pretty happy with our utility bills.
Wastewater treatment plant, it's only money. Lots of millions, lots of zeros at the end of that one.
All right, thank you.
That concludes our questions, and I wish we had more time to get to more. There's so much more to get to, but we want to be respectful of your guys' time. And if there's a question that we didn't ask that you want to include in your 2 minutes closing statements, you can definitely do that. So we're going to allow each candidate their final 2 minutes here for their closing statement. And with that, we will begin with Franklin.
All right, thank you guys for having me. You'll see me locally. Once again, Franklin Danley, Ward 3. We've covered a lot of great things here tonight. I'll catch you in Guthrie. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl.
Thank you guys for your time spent in putting this together and allowing the people to meet the candidates and decide what they want for themselves. It's been a good time up here. I've enjoyed every bit of it. I hope I can continue because we have some exciting things in the pipeline. I want to be a part of that, and I feel like that it's something that's really going to make everybody happy, and the city of Guthrie grow like mad. So let's keep up the good work, and everybody, please vote, no matter who your candidate is.
Thank you. Danny?
Okay, I'm going to need my glasses for this. I'm just going to read this prepared statement, otherwise I'll go off on a tangent. I'm bad about that. That's one thing I got to warn you all of if I'm elected. I kind of told you why I want to run for office, because like everybody up here, it seems like we all love Guthrie. We believe it. We have a bright future, and I want to help our city management and our mayor to make that happen. My platform is to make Guthrie a more livable city, to bring job creators and tourists to Guthrie that will bring the tax revenue in to fund the needed promotion and improvements to infrastructure while keeping our citizens' taxes low. That's an important part. And to ultimately end the vacancies in downtown area. And if there's got to be some kind of action on the city government's part, I'm for that at some point. I hope to get the votes of the people that want a councilperson that lives on the west side and recognizes, engages with our diverse residents and our issues here. I want to advocate for progress on the west side. I've got a couple things here specifically. I want to help our city's leaders recognize we need improvements such as safe routes for children, particularly along West Oklahoma to Cotterell School, where there is no sidewalks whatsoever. And when the Cotterell School gets done, we want to build a safer and more efficient pickup area for those children. And additional crosswalks on Noble, which the kids cannot access Banner Park from the south side of the road without crossing over. Like you mentioned, I want to restore and upgrade with the historic, which is really historic and scenic Old Highway 33, Southwest 19th, which many people from Edmond access from that road. And I want to add a bike and pedestrian lanes, because I see bicyclists all the time riding that road coming from Edmond or wherever. And it's a disaster, if nobody knows. But real quick, my vision is to fully utilize the city's assets to bring more tourists and the quality of life, promoting Cottonwood Flats for the festivals, engaged with our elected politicians in D.C. and Oklahoma, and to bring the train to Guthrie. There's no reason why we can't have this train to Guthrie. We've got to stand up for ourselves and demand this from our city, our elected leaders. So as a council member, I pledge to attend each meeting prepared and enthusiastic and engage in an ethical and honest representative of the city of Guthrie.
Thank you. Final 2 minutes goes to Tracy.
Well, I've lived presently for 20 years in the same house and been a homeowner since I was 19 in 3 houses total within 5 blocks of where I live today. My parents before me and my grandparents, all West Siders, the wrong side of the track at one time, they said. Progress coming to the West Side's been slow, but it's there and it's coming, and I want to be a part of that. So, and it's the biggest footprint of the Ward 3. It needs a lot of attention. And I believe being a spokesman for that, having seen this all my life and being a voice for the people that live over there is my main mission. But I'm excited about the possibilities. I agree that it is forthcoming, and just want to be a part of that vision.
Thank you. And that concludes our forum. I'm going to let Jamie have the last few words here in a little bit, but I want to personally give you guys a big thank you for putting your name on the line and sharing your thoughts, and heard some great answers tonight, and more importantly, very respectable from all 4 of you. And in a world that's very heated and divisive, you guys showed a lot of great character today, and I thank you for that. Reminder for the citizens in Ward 3, the primary election will be held on February 9th. If a candidate cannot receive 50% of the vote, the top 2 candidates will move on to the general election, which will be held on April 6th. So be sure to get out and vote February 9th, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And I will send it over to Jamie.
On behalf of the Chamber of Commerce and all of our citizens, and especially the ones in Ward 3, we'd like to thank you all again for joining us this evening and giving us your opinions and your thoughts regarding our great city. And we also want to thank the City of Guthrie again for allowing us to use the council chambers. Thank Aaron Ryburn for all of his technological greatness. And also to thank you to Chris Evans for being our master of ceremonies this evening.
And a big thank you to Jamie. Jamie got the emergency call like at 4:30 to be here. So thank you for being available and helping us out on short term. So big thank you to Jamie.
Thanks. Thank you. You're welcome. And we hope you all have a great evening. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Now then, burgers next.